Swanky.
All right, well, we're going to have first set of one of our roundtables here. And to start that off, we'll bring up Anthony Chavez, who is the host of the Skin in the Game podcast. So, Anthony, go ahead and take it away.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Anthony Chavez. I'm a single full-time father, and my background is in construction. However, I was responsible on my son for ending the mask mandate for Denver Public Schools, being the last school district in the state of Colorado, going back to parents' choice, and unfortunately I was arrested. And a lot of things happened during the course of that. One of the things that happened was I was able to discover about the ESSER funds and the way that the school funding works, and similarly how corrupt our government is. And that led me to doing more of a deep dive into the state financials and also state politics and just how abysmal it is. So again, as a single full-time father, I don't have a whole lot of time on my hands, but I was able to be a part of the podcast and start to get Baltimore's message out as soon as he announced he wanted to run. And so I'm doing what I can to try and help boost candidates that I believe in. There's a state and local election happening this year, and I really think it's possible that together, if we get to know our candidates and what they stand for, we're going to be able to actually be confident when we go to the ballot box and what we're voting for and what moving forward looks like. It's not just the immediate change, it's down the road. So I'm happy to be a part of this forum, and I want to help you guys get to know these candidates, and we'll get some questions to ask. You guys can get to know them, and hopefully you guys have a good time. Thank you. I think we got 4 since we got Mike, Jack, Johnny, and Kyle. Why don't you guys come on up? So Mike is House District 2. Mike DiManna, and let's see, Kyle over there is House District 6. Jack Daus is House District 4. And Johnnie Johnson is House District 5. So welcome you all to the stage. I want to get started and just kind of give you guys an opportunity to let the people know what drove you to politics.
What drove me to politics was the craziness that's going on in politics. I'm a 51-year divorce lawyer, started my own business. I'm a 4th generation Denverite, so I've lived here my whole life. And what put me into this game was seeing my city that I was born in and love completely being destroyed, year after year after year after year. And so I asked people, when have you had enough of this? And if you have had enough, you need to change the people that are doing this to you. So the easy line for me, it's DiManna for hd2.com is my website. And my goal is that if you like things the way they are in Denver and you want to keep them that way, you vote for the guy that's in there. You want to take a big bite out of this elephant and put somebody in that legislature that's going to do that, I'm the guy you want to vote for. Thank you.
And Michael, and what district are you running for?
House District 2.
And where is that exactly?
That is Hamden to 6th Avenue, Colorado Boulevard to Broadway. So,
Thank you.
large district.
Jack, what drove you to politics? What brought you here today? What was the catalyst for you stepping up and getting involved?
I think the final thing that convinced me that I had to do something was the whole COVID crisis and all the abuse the government put down on us, taking our freedoms away, forcing people to get vaccinations and
Some
wear
of the
masks.
illogical ideas that were coming out of the state.
Yeah, it seemed like there was so many freedoms taken away from us, and the media was behind it, all the government was behind it, and I had always thought about it in the past, but that's what made me finally decide that we have to do something.
And what's your background?
My background is a lot in construction. I was in financial and insurance for a while. I had real estate properties for myself, and I still do.
What do you think? What do you think about the housing rate here in Colorado?
It's
Is 8%
extremely
something?
difficult for
Yeah.
an average family to pay the bills.
Is an 8% rate something to celebrate right now?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
I think we're lucky it didn't go higher.
Tell us where House District 4 is.
House District 4 is the west side of Denver, like central west and northwest, basically from like 52nd Avenue between Federal and Sheridan all the way down to Ohio and Morrison Road.
Okay, that's a pretty big area. Awesome, thank you. Next we have Kyle. Kyle, what is your interest in politics? How did you come into politics?
I've always been interested in politics to a certain extent. I was homeschooled. My parents taught me the importance of the history of our country, where we came from. So I've always been interested in politics to a certain extent. Moving down here to Denver, I don't think anybody on either side of the political spectrum, wherever you fall, I don't think anybody's happy with the way things are. And I want to help change that.
And so you have a background in journalism, right?
Yes.
And so you were trained in your profession to kind of view things through a lens of a journalist, correct?
Yes.
And how has that helped you kind of formulate your opinion in terms of what motivated you to run for office?
One of the most important things I learned, and I know that we're all inundated with news, media, all that. One of the most important things I learned was don't trust anything. Verify any claims. So I'm very skeptical of like news stories that come out.
So basically, just truth seeking through your journalistic background, you kind of have this built-in innate like this search for knowledge that leads you to like just I need to verify this. It's got to be truthful before I start believing it or spreading it, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's kind of pushed me in the opposite direction where I don't believe anything, and I don't really have the time to verify things myself. So I try to stay away from news for the most part, which is probably not healthy.
And again, and that's another thing I think that Jack and Michael and all of us here have in common is that our search for the truth and trying to find answers, in a practical way, in a realistic way, has been hard. And that's what led you guys to standing up. That's what led to me getting involved in many of you being here today is because you see something is off and you want it to change. You want to do something about it. And so I really thank you all for coming here and showing up today, for all of you guys stepping up and being here with us. Johnnie, tell us about your journey to politics. How did you end up in politics?
Well, I noticed that all through school, I went to school with mostly like Republican kids that were from Republican houses. When Nixon was on the scene, they had this one kid that I guess he would raise his hand and puff up his face and look like Nixon, and they bring the camera guys out there to film this kid, pretending that he's Nixon and stuff like that. And I never really thought about it, And then all through my life, I had friends that were on the Republican side, and then when Donald Trump came down the escalator, and me and my wife, we happened to be coming back from Europe, and she says, let's go over to Central Park, and then she saw this building called the Trump Tower. So she said, hey, let's go to the Trump Tower. It's around 4 o'clock, and there he was coming down, and I had one of these Grady iPhone 4s, and I didn't think about it. Let me take this out and film this. It was just kind of weird that we were there at that time. And so when I got involved with this, and my district is downtown Denver, Lodos, along Alameda, Federal, a little bit over there by the Capitol.
Okay, House District 5, right?
Our House District 5. And so I went down to the Capitol with this church. They were trying to lobby for something or another, and I met this guy named Alex Valdez, and I heard him talking to a friend about, like he said, how's your solar business going? And he said, hey, it's going fantastic and so forth. And then in 2001, 2002, he passed a bill saying that every new building, commercial building or residential, has to have solar panels on their place. And I'm thinking like, okay, he has a solar panel business, so he's setting himself up so when he leaves this, he has that built-in clientele that they are forced to get solar panels on their building. And I said, that's not right. Because if you go into politics, you're supposed to go in there for the people, not for the benefit of your own pocket. So that's what got me started.
That's what made you throw your hands up and say, all right, that's it. Everyone out of the pool, Johnny's here. We're going to talk about this solar. Yeah. And then you had a similar experience downtown too, I think, that kind of led you into politics. I think, didn't you try and talk to your local House representative and didn't get any answers, or was that someone else I was talking to?
Yeah, this happened a while back, 2012, there was a Republican person run in House Secret 5, and she gave me her card, and I called her and never received a call back. And I said, if I ever got in that kind of position, I'm gonna at least return people's calls, because why did she give out a business card if she's not gonna return any calls? So.
Swing and a miss, yeah. Hey, sometimes it works, I gotta be honest. I don't know how much of you guys follow Congress, I do. I'm one of those people who watches C-SPAN. I actually called Jason Crow's office and explained to him why he should vote to censure Bowman for pulling the fire alarm. He actually did change his vote, so it does work. Calling your congressman and when they're voting, and I'm proof of it. So, you guys gotta believe that making your voice heard, sometimes, like Johnny said, it doesn't always work. You're not always gonna get an answer back from your House district person, but sometimes you do. But yeah, so next we're gonna go to a couple of just general questions for you guys, starting with, we'll come back to that, to you, Michael.
Yes.
And we're gonna talk about what positive things do you see about Denver or Colorado?
Not much. Not much
There's
going
gotta
on
be
here.
one.
It's really positive. Can you hear me all? Can you all hear? Okay, great. Things are seeming to maintain. People are still moving into this state and into the city. Why, I don't know. I'm not sure they're aware that we're going to be raising our sales tax 5% to provide for the unhoused. That legislation, if it passes in Denver, is going to raise $100 million. We don't know how it's going to be administered. The mayor says it'll only cost $3 million to do it. So there's really no guts or plan behind this. And by the way, we're going to raise the tax another 3% because Denver General is going broke. I've lived here, as I said, 4 generations. I have never seen a tax to support Denver General Hospital. And the reason that's happening is we are bringing into this city people that don't belong here. And we're providing for them all services. And we did that because Michael Hancock, you may recall, put a big sign on the city and county building. It said, "We heart immigrants." Okay, well, having said that, guess who's coming here and guess who's taking our services? It's got to stop, and there's an easy way to do it. The minute we restore the ability of our police officers to contact ICE when they arrest people here illegally and who've committed crimes, this is going to stop. And it's going to stop very quickly. Because once we started that, we became known as a sanctuary city. So the governor blames the mayor blames the governor. Let's put it to rest. One piece of legislation will get it done.
Yeah, and it's pretty bad and it's pretty corrupt when, the Meth Camp Mike is his nickname online. Meth Camp Mike is actually paying some of his top aides out of the Parks and Rec budget. He's surrounded himself with these people and he's giving these sweetheart deals to people that he knows to the money that he drained already existed. The money that he's asking for is going again to his friends. But he's paying people out of different departments' budget, and it's just beyond corrupt. You guys have no idea. It's really corrupt. But what improvements do you think that can be made?
Well, I think what improvements can be made is we've got to get rid of this one-party government. It's just not working. Think back. Haven't we given them enough of a chance? We defunded the police. We put in no cash bail. We reduced sentences for criminals. And look at what's happening. Crime's up. Police department's down. The mayor's cutting the budget of the police department by $9 million.
The governor's telling you it's your imagination.
Yeah. Promises it won't affect personnel. Now, if any of you run a business, you know that your most expensive cost is your people. So you're going to cut $9 million out of your budget. It's going to affect your people. And that's why we heard that the recruiting is down, and what we're recruiting to be police officers in Denver are people that don't want to do it. I'll tell you another thing that's happened. When we put in place a $25,000 personal liability on a police officer that's found to be negligent in the performance of his duty, after we sit back and watch what happened for hours at a time, find one little thing or another, we've got to get rid of that. Yep. You're not going to have anybody applying for a job when they're putting their children's college education on the line if they make a mistake.
True.
It's got to stop.
Facts. What about you, Jack? What positive things do you see about Denver, Colorado?
Michael said a lot.
It's hard, right? It's hard to follow that.
And I agree with most or all of it. Positive things I see are really small things.
Hard to find, right?
Hard to find. It was nice. I went walking with Valdemar, and there was a park where the kids could come and press a button and cool off in the summertime because they got the fountains that they can walk in. I guess it's maybe better than a swimming pool with lifeguards and that kids have to be watched all the time. But that was kind of cool. And I think they've done quite a good job about adapting the sidewalks for people with disabilities. That's been I think that was a good thing that they did.
Yeah, and there was an abysmal waste with all the pillars that you see up and all the bike lanes and the parking.
Yeah, I think that's a huge waste of money.
Raise your hand if you know anyone that got part of the $42 million broadband service that was promised by the last administration. Anybody? No one. What improvements do you think could be made other than the walkways?
The roads are horrible in this state. I travel the I-70 corridor almost from Kansas to Grand Junction sometimes.
Yeah.
And I used to do the Front Range, but everywhere in the state, the roads are crumbling.
Don't get me
Other
started
than
on
when they're
traffic.
actually some places they're actually repaving, but it's so minimal compared to the damage that's been happening over the last 20 years because they take the money and spend it give it to their friends, find people to give money to, and it's not going back to the people that are paying for basic services to happen to keep the state just up to par.
The sad truth about the roads, you guys want to know the sad truth, they built that I-70 thing, they built the express lane down in Colorado Springs, if any of you guys drove down to Colorado Springs. All these express lanes on I-36 are all bought and paid for by you, and then it's an exclusive club who's able to purchase these express lane tickets. And all they did in I-70 was just add 2 express lanes that you can't go in. You still have the same 3 lanes. There's just more on and off ramps through the middle part of downtown. Driving's horrible here. Don't get me started on driving. Anyway, thank you. Kyle.
I'm going to answer this question from a little bit of a different angle, kind of as a what do I like about Denver kind of a question. Denver has something for everyone. Doesn't matter what your interests are, who you are, who you identify with, there's something for you here. If you're into science and education, we've got tons of museums here. If you're into recreation, we've got the mountains out there. Denver has something to work with, and that's what I like
So what improvements do you think can be made?
I agree with Jack about transportation. Roads need to be fixed. What I think one of the biggest things that Denver needs to fix is cost of housing. A lot of people can't buy houses. A lot of people want to buy houses, can't afford it.
Right, there's a whole generation that's been left out of the housing market. It seems like everywhere you look, the people that climbed the corporate ladder pulled the ladder up behind them when they got there, and there's not a lot of opportunity left for some of us, including the buying a home, the American dream, right? And just the simple things that we're looking around now, like the world that's been left to us, and what moving forward looks like. And I'm grateful for all of you guys to come up here and throw your hat in the ring, because something does need to change. We do need to change.
Well, the issue with housing, if I can just interrupt here for a second, we don't build condominiums anymore. And you know why we don't build condominiums anymore? Because the legislature imposed such draconian sanctions on the builders that they just said, screw it, why build a condominium when we could build an apartment building with a lot less liability, in fact, virtually no liability. So if we will remove some of this draconian legislation that this Democratic legislature is passing, we'll be able to get back to building starter homes for people that we used to buy all the time and we used to have all the time. This legislature is attacking every business, including, by the way, landlords, which you're going to find out about if you haven't already. And that business is going to be going the way of the dodo bird. People don't want to own rental property anymore because of the strict regulations that are being imposed upon them. When you have to show cause as to why you're terminating somebody's lease, they got it backwards.
Yeah.
I own that property. I put my wealth at stake to build that property, and I will do what I want with that property. Mind your own damn business.
Thank you. What about you guys?
Okay, I was looking at that, what's good. I'm thinking most of these people that are putting in these things are not thinking it all the way through. There was a summer program at this park, Lama Park, and it had all these, maybe some were illegal, maybe some were not, but they were all Spanish speaking. And I heard this mother come in and she says, well, where's the summer program for the American kids? And I thought what they could have did was they could have put a mixture of the kids that were in that neighborhood that were from this country and these other kids, because it seemed like the Democrats are sending these people up to fail if they're only going to put them around people like themselves and not incorporate them into the community. Then they're going to be this underground class of people that are going to get these underground low-level jobs if they get any jobs at all. And I'm just thinking, like, what's going on now is just they're not thinking the thing all the way through. They just say summer program, but just for these kids and not for the community. So I'm thinking that if someone like myself or these gentlemen will get in help, and we can say, let's follow through. Trump says he's gonna get rid of all these sanctuary cities, so that they won't have that to lean on. So that's gonna be something good. But if we're gonna put these kids who don't speak English into these programs, mix them up with kids that can speak English so they can learn how to become a part of our community rather than an underground part of our community.
Right, kind of like fold into the culture of the community instead of, I see what you're saying. Okay, so how do we fix these things?
We got to stop voting the way we've been voting. I mean, it's not that tough. When we keep putting if we honestly thought that this mayor was going to do something about the homeless problem, we were smoking the marijuana that they sell around here. He had no idea what to do about it, and he still doesn't. How many cities in this country has housing first worked to solve homelessness?
None.
Do you know of any?
No.
And these cities are going broke. You know why? Because they're spending all this money. Not their money, this is our money. So they create the problem, and then they expect you to fix the problem by raising your taxes. The budget in this state is over $40 billion. And do you know that you're going to have to pass legislation to take a mere $350 million of that budget and provide it to police officers? Training, education, increase in salary, $1 million if they're killed in a line of duty. And you know why we have to do it? Because they can't agree on it. A legislator controlled by Democrats cannot agree to help the police in this state. Folks, this is embarrassing. It really is. And the only way to stop it is you have to put different people in there. Can we stop it tomorrow? No. But we're going to start. And the way to start is vote Republican.
Thank you, Mike. What do you think, Jack? How do we fix it? How do we change? How do we make the changes that we need to see happen?
I agree with Michael. The only way is to change the people. The Democrats tell people what they want to hear, and they say they're nice and they're going to help everybody, and they don't do it.
Who's representing House District 4 right now, currently?
It is Tim Hernandez.
Oh gosh, that guy.
Yeah.
So you
And he lost his primary.
He lost his primary, and so did Kyle.
Elizabeth Daus.
She lost her primary, right? Those were the two kind of most embarrassing people in our legislature. Wow.
Well, the people that have replaced them are less verbal, but just as
bad.
just as extreme.
Yeah.
Right.
I noticed my opponent, she lost, but her website caters totally to the
Same ideology, right? I think the good news is it's kind of a sign that the people wanted something different. But you guys have a really good chance because of the two people that lost in their primary. I think the appetite for something different other than the Democratic flavor in these districts it's high probability. You guys have a really good chance. I think a lot of you guys have a really good chance. I think the vibe in Denver has always been palpable. Growing up here, you can tell when the vibe changes, and it's palpable. There's plenty of people who are kind of fed up, seeing the license plates. We all see them, the cars with no license plates. We drive these streets. We see them hanging on the corner. Fortunately, I moved out of Denver, and I was able to drive around in downtown Denver more recently, and it's just like what I see online. It's embarrassing, and then to watch my legislature, like people like Tim Hernandez and Elizabeth Epps, and Scott Bottoms is out there just on an island alone, begging for help in our state capitol, doing what he can, and so I'm doing what I can. You guys can do what you can. Grab a sign. It doesn't cost anything to repost. If you can't donate, it doesn't cost anything to share a post. Follow these guys. Give them a like. Give them a share. We only have a limited amount of time. It's not forever. So just go out there and do what you can, you guys. Thank you all for coming up. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Jensen.
You asked what we could do to change it. One other thing is, part of my campaign is to get people active. It's our government. We need your participation and your volunteerism.
Real quick,
We need you to go to district meetings. We need you to be a block captain, a precinct captain, and get out there and participate in our government. Don't just say, oh, politicians, we don't like them, they don't do this, they don't do that.
Thank you for adding that, Jack. Real quick before I let you guys go, is there any questions from the audience? Do you guys have any questions from any of the candidates? We'll throw you a mic. Here I come. Do you know how to catch? Ready? Just kidding.
Yeah, I have a question. So, since I've lived in Colorado, it's always been a big gun culture, a big gun advocacy groups in the state, and the Democratic Party has basically ruined, especially the weighting laws and like the assault weapons ban and all that stuff in Denver and statewide, like I really think that a citizenry able to defend itself is critical to any change, and like the ability to show that they are able to defend themselves is critical to any change in the mentality of the state. So what do you guys think about that? What are your plans on that?
Excellent question. Thank you.
Well, we all have a right under the Constitution, Second Amendment, to possess firearms. The issue now is more self-defense. The reason we need firearms is for self-defense. Now, we all saw the pictures out at Aurora. You saw those illegal aliens breaking down doors, carrying guns. Which one of those guys waited 3 days before they got that gun? Which one of those guys passed a background check? What are they even doing with guns? When they arrested them, they put them in jail. You know what kind of bond they posted? $1,000. You know the likelihood they're going to be back? Not very good. So here's what we need to do about guns. We need to start talking about the protection of the people and punishment of criminals. And you know how we'll punish them? We'll put a 5-year mandatory sentence on any crime committed with a gun. You do your underlying time, and when you're finished, start doing the 5. No probation, no parole, no suspended sentence. 5 years, dude. And I can almost guarantee you, after being a criminal defense lawyer for over 30 years, this will reduce gun crime in the state of Colorado.
Thanks for taking that question, Michael. Do we have any more questions?
I'll start with a little background information. My family goes back 149 years in Colorado, basically to statehood. And all of my relatives that are buried in Riverside are probably turning in their graves about what's happened to this state and what's happened to this city. And it got so bad for me. I lived downtown Denver and worked across the street from the Capitol for a long time. And I got so disgusted with it, I moved to Florida because I can't take it anymore of what's happened to this state. You know, I go down there and it's like living in a different country in comparison to here. I come back in the summer to visit my family in Grand Junction and things like that. But I reflect on what happens here. I blame a lot of it on the state Republican Party because they sit and do nothing as far as I'm concerned. They do nothing. They don't have any balls. They're never up front in the public eye telling people what the agenda should be. They capitulate. They cower. They do nothing relative to leadership and what should be happening. And it makes me shake because it hurts me to see what's happened to this state. Why aren't our Republican leaders at the state level looking at places where things work? Let me just give you a couple examples. In Florida, if you're an illegal, you don't get a driver's license. You don't get any kind of ID issued by the state. You don't get a job unless you pass the E-Verify system. What happened after Florida did this? Medicaid costs in Florida dropped 75%. 75%, because they don't put up with all this bullshit. Statewide, there is no public camping. Every county is required to come up with an area where homeless people can go. But there are requirements. No drinking, no drugs. You have to enroll in a work program, a rehab program, or something like that, or you get to go to jail, right? Where are the specifics? Where is the leadership coming at the state level to help you guys, and thank you for doing it, to have an agenda that the public can
Get behind.
can support? I don't see it. I noticed it years ago. Just kind of dropping. Now we're at the bottom of the pile, right? As mentioned, the state's bankrupt, the city's bankrupt. They want you guys to pay for everything. By the way, I don't have any state income taxes in Florida either. None. Because they have leadership that stays within the budget, that listens to the people and what they want. I can walk around downtown Fort Lauderdale and not feel afraid. I have yet to see a homeless encampment because they don't put up with the shit. So I'm venting, but I'd like your input on what are you expecting from the state party? What's going on? Because I don't understand it.
Yeah, we got rid of George Santos and gave ourselves limited chances with the voting in Congress. So, what state level support are we getting? Does anyone know?
Zero.
Zero, right? I think we were just at an event with Lauren Boebert. That was maybe the biggest name that we've had so far this election cycle. Other than that, it's just crickets. I was trolling Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk for a while, asking them, where can I find tickets to your next event in Denver? It seems to be hard to find. I can't. Where is it on the Turning Point USA? Well, guess what? Next week you showed up in Boulder. So, you know, when I tell you guys to get involved and make comments, and you know, like I said, it costs nothing to share. It costs nothing to share a post. We've got limited time, so one more question. We got one more question.
So, my home state of Florida.
I envy you guys.
Yes, recreational marijuana is on the ballot this year, so I was wondering what how it affected the state of Colorado, whether good or bad, because I don't like it.
You say it is on the ballot this
It's on
year?
the ballot for
In Florida.
Oh, in Florida.
for legalization of
Yeah, vote no.
recreational marijuana.
Vote no.
How is it affected by voting? It's going to bring in taxes, but also.
Oh no, they'll take it. It's supposed, well, they, like everyone else, they'll say it goes to schools. So the marijuana tax is gonna go to your school, and all the kids are gonna get these fancy devices, and then, when it comes down to it, they don't get any of that. It's just the way that our government functions. Like I said, I can show you better than I can tell you. I'm just a single full-time father. I wanted to know why they were masking my son when he was at the reading age, when he was supposed to be learning ABCs. Right, literacy is the successful ingredients to a successful life, and they took 7 years of my investment in my son's literacy and threw it in the toilet. So we gotta fight. We gotta do something. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all.
Thank you, folks.